Hey everybody, hello. I am getting ready for call number 3 with you guys. Thank you so much for allowing us to reschedule due to the plague hitting our house. We have been just crazy since the beginning of the year. We got the flu and then the stomach flu, and it's just been totally crazy. But so thank you for working with us and allowing us to move it to Wednesday night. I'm sure we'll probably have a couple less people because it's a last minute rescheduled, but I hope you guys are, a lot of people are going to tune in on the replay. Hi, Lincoln. Hi, guys. So this call is going to be a little bit more conversational, hopefully. I'm going to do my best to keep up. Hi, Audrey. I'm going to do my best to keep up with comments in between some of these points I'm making, because I would love to know what you guys are thinking about some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. And this time I have cough drops, so I will not be taking a million sips of tea like I did in last call. I'm still getting over all the cooties that we've had. So a couple things I wanted to talk about with you guys. So one of the cool and crazy things that I'm learning about this whole planner production world is that production needs to be done like almost a year in advance from when we launch a product. And so our production manager has me finishing up all of the files and design choices for our 2021 planner by the end of this month. So that means January 31st, I have to get in all of the changes that we're going to make for her or to her by then. And so one of the things that I've kind of mentioned in the group that I want to reiterate and let you guys know that I would love to get some of your guys' feedback on some of the things that you really love, and if there's anything specific that you guys would like to change. We're going to be doing some more polls in the group, some fun stuff. I think I'll do the next one tomorrow. And it'll give you guys an option or an opportunity to have some say in some of the things that are going to be rolling out in our new planners. And I'm really excited because we're going to be adding a little bit more color. We're going to still keep everything really clean and simple in the layouts, but we're going to kind of be infusing some more color throughout, because I love that. I love a clean and simple layout, but I still want some color in there. So we are going to be doing that. And then we'll also have a little bit more of a formal survey that we'll do that Melissa and I are working on, and I should have that posted to the group this week. And that will be a little bit more specific. If there's additional products, certain binding types, that's a common question I get asked a lot. So if any of that stuff is something that you have a need or request for, that would be a great opportunity to head over to that survey when I post that and give me the feedback there. So that will be coming this week. The other thing is, I don't know if you guys have your comfies. We're in our sweats. You can't see. I got my sweatpants on and my tee and my fuzzy blanket, but with these lights, it's really hot. So she's laughing because I think I have the air conditioning set to 64 degrees because it is so hot, but I'm keeping this puppy on my lap. We'll see how long it lasts. So, hi Carrie, hi Roslyn, hi guys. I'm so excited you're here. Okay. Let's get started. This is something I can't believe I haven't talked about in any of our calls yet. And I kind of posted about it in the beginning of our Instagram when we first launched that. But you guys, these tips at the bottom of your weekly notes and reflections, these are personal development tips that I have personally pulled in a lot of the workshops and information that I give to people in kind of taking things a little bit deeper. And I wanted to have something like that was part of the planner. But what you guys will find is that a lot of these are timed, and I specifically chose certain ones so that right around the same time frame of what common setbacks or issues that I would see people having throughout the process. So you'll notice the first 12 weeks, they're very specific in regards to where you're at in the process or the calendar, like typical setbacks that happen during that time frame. So some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about tonight, you'll see later on in the year. But I want you guys to know that all of those tips are a great opportunity if you want to go a little bit deeper. That's a really great place to go and to do some of those activities. Okay, the last thing, house cleaning thing I want to talk about is our last call. It was going to be this coming Sunday, But I really, really want to make sure that you guys have a full month in the planner before we do our final call. So I'm not available Sunday the 26th. We have a family event that we're doing. So I bumped it to Monday, January 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we're going to be going over reflections and the quarterly assessment and some tips around that, and then also going a little bit deeper. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Noni. My mother-in-law's in here. Hi. Okay. So let's get started. Woo, all right. I'm gonna get cozy here. All right, you guys, we are gonna be talking about the messier side of personal growth. And this, I'm gonna tell you guys, I have rewritten this. I wrote this script and the idea of the direction I wanted to go with this 3 weeks ago. And I'm gonna tell you that I've probably redone it 20 times. And it is something that is very important to me. It is something that is absolutely critical to achieving your goals, to making meaningful change in your life. And it's the stuff that people don't like talking about. But it is the most important part. And I have full workshops on this, you guys. I have 2-day workshops that I would do, emotional intelligent workshops, teaching people how to name their feelings and work through them and do all that kind of stuff. So there was like a million directions I wanted to go with this. And it was hard to think, okay, what am I going to shove into a 30 or 40-minute talk? So bear with me if I go down some rabbit holes, because you guys, I think I've gotten this as succinct as I want for tonight's call, but I would love to continue this conversation with you guys down the road, because this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I had talked in the last call about wanting to share some of my own personal story, and I really want to do that. And I kind of went back and forth because I thought, I think it's important for you guys to know that as I sit here in front of you, and I tell this to my workshop participants and my coaching clients too, that I always have a smile on my face, and like optically it may look like, oh, here's, she might have it together, or things are going good for her. And I want you to know that I sit in front of you. I will never ever act like I have it all together, that I have it all figured out. In fact, the older that I've gotten, the more that I realize I don't know. And I love that. And I wanted to share my story, but then I realized I don't want this call to be about me. So I'm just going to give you guys a little brief overview, and then down the road I can give you guys more information. But the one thing that I want to talk about is that life gets messy, and there will be setbacks that you guys are going to come across. And some of you have already kind of hit them in regards to coming up with figuring out what you want for yourself for your annual goals. Some of you have messaged me, and the compass assessment became a trigger. It was like, oh gosh, I didn't even realize that I wasn't spending time and energy in this certain area. Or there was sadness that came up over like, wow, I didn't realize I wasn't giving myself the care and attention that I needed to, or that my marriage is struggling, or I haven't been as patient with my children as I'd like to, or I have toxic relationships in my life that require some boundaries that I don't know how to set. And you guys have been so amazing messaging me and sharing with me your story. I've been able to share my story with some of you, but the one thing that I want to talk about is that everything I'm going to discuss tonight, I've gone through myself. My mom was a single mom, got pregnant with me when she was 19, and really struggled. And I think for her, she self-medicated an undiagnosed mental disorder with drugs and alcohol throughout most of my childhood. And that comes with a whole plethora of fun stuff that I get to unravel and undo in my adulthood. I started seeing a therapist about 20 years ago. She's going to age me. I'll be 43 in July. But the part I want to share with you guys is that I come from a background where we didn't have a lot, and poverty and homelessness was something that was part of my background. And the idea of something bigger and possibility wasn't in my environment. I knew that I wanted more from life, but I didn't have people modeling that for me or showing that to me. And so a lot of times what I had to do was I had to dig deep, and I had to learn on my own how to get past a lot of that stuff that's going to come up. And even one thing after working with people, as much as I have, the one thing that I have found is that even people from perfect families all have their shit. And that's just the way it is. There's nobody who comes from a perfect family who doesn't have some unraveling of something that they have to overcome when it comes to making change in their lives. There's negative core beliefs that were planted many, many years ago that, again, they're always kind of running in the background. Where did the book? So I'm going to take a quick break. How many of you guys are reading this or listening to it on audiobook? I've seen a lot of you guys tagging me that you guys have gotten it from your library, which I think is really cool. I should have done that. So the reason why I grabbed this book is because it's a perfect complement to everything I'm going to be talking about tonight. And I love, as I started getting into it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so perfect, because she talks about owning those feelings that come up. And she does a really great job. I love Amber Ray, but she does an amazing job of sharing the dirtier, messier parts of her personal growth. And I've said this so many times, and I'll say it again and again and again. Our system is all about goals, but it's all about who you become in the process. That's my number one focus. You'll always hear me focus on the growth and learning versus the achievement of goals. And the achievement of goals will naturally happen in this, but the goals and what I have found with myself and my clients and a lot of people out there is that when they achieve the goal aspect of things, that tends to not necessarily bring the happiness and joy that we all think that we're going to get. But then the more that people embrace the process and the messier parts and learn to make peace with all of the stuff that kind of holds them back, is when people find joy and fulfillment. And that usually doesn't come when you cross the finish line. It's on your way there. So I want to give you guys a little story. And I guess it was a week before Christmas, or a couple days before Christmas, my family and I attended a church service for Christmas at a local church. And I love going. We don't attend there regularly. Our family does. But what I love going because they are borderline mega church. They've got numerous campuses all throughout our area, and each one of them have probably on the upside of tens of thousands of members. And I love going because they do such an amazing job of, even though they're huge, of kind of zeroing in on the personal experience for each person, so that when you're in there, you don't feel like you're in a sea of people and you're kind of lost in the busyness and the craziness. And I love going to their services because they do such a great job of zeroing in. And this particular one was no different. But it caught me off guard. And it was an amazing story, an example of something that I kind of want to take a little bit deeper. But I have some visuals. We are not fancy over here. I don't have a fancy system to show how this ends. So I'm going to hold up a piece of paper for you guys. So the way the service started out, and I love them because they weave their message through pop culture. So it's he was doing this Jimmy Fallon? Is it Jimmy Fallon? Why is my brain? Yeah, a Jimmy Fallon skit. You know how he's writing the thank you cards and he's thank you for. Sorry, I'm scrolling down on the comments to make sure I can kind of keep up. He was doing the funny skits of thank yous and it was just funny. We're all laughing and it's lighthearted, and he brings up stuff about Justin Bieber and then we live in California, so funny not funny is this whole wildfire issue that we've had here. And that kind of is when things kind of started to turn a little bit. But they started to make fun of the fact that basically all of California was out of power for weeks. And I think he was writing a card to PG&E. He's like, thank you, PG&E for, and then all of a sudden, all of the lights shut out. And it's dead silent. And it's black. You can't see your hand in front of your face. And you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, what just happened? And he was making a joke, in case you guys don't know, many parts of California, millions of people were out of power on the upside of a week. And that meant no running water, no toilets, no showers, no washing machines, no refrigerators. I mean, it was living in post-apocalyptic times. It was crazy. Not to mention that we're all scared to death that something's going to catch on fire. So it was really high stress. Things were crazy. So we're sitting in this room, and it's black and it's quiet. And we're like, okay, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, the screen in front of us has this DOS type old school DOS type that comes across the screen. And we're sitting there, and again, this is on the heels of like fun and lighthearted, and all of a sudden, this message comes up on the screen. Then this one. And then this one. And you guys, it felt like somebody punched me in the gut. And I immediately started to cry. And it doesn't take a lot for that to happen. Anyone who knows me, I cry often, but it was tears. Like, I was bawling. My husband looked at me and he was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I just realized, I was like, whoa, that just completely caught me off guard. And the lights come back on and music comes on, and it starts, they bring in the more emotional stuff. And somewhere in there, I had the wherewithal to look up and look around the room, and we're down on the floor, and I could see all of the bleachers around us. And I look around the room, and I'm not even joking, you guys, at least 3/4 of the room either had their head in their hands, tears streaming down their face, or their head was in their partner's shoulder next to them. And what it made me realize, or as a good reminder, is that we all are so busy and life is so crazy, and there's not a lot of places for us to go where you can feel seen and bring out those really big emotions that come up. And they got us when our defenses were down. It was like, here's all the happy and laughter, and all of a sudden, boom, in your face. Did you lose someone that you love this year? Are you dealing with or struggling with depression? Are you dealing with anxiety? And what made me realize, these guys are smart. They've got tens of thousands of members. I know they do their research. They got 3/4 of the room crying with 3 questions. And I know that they chose those because those are probably the 3 most common struggles that they hear that people have. I'm not surprised by that because I see and hear the same thing with my clients. And I'm bringing this up as an illustration that we all are going through crap at any point, and it's inevitable that it's going to come up. Now, most of us, again, like I said, we don't have a place to go where it's safe, or someone to talk to where it's maybe not a loaded conversation, or we're not plagued with the feeling of burdening someone with these big feelings. And so what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to give you some really good tips and tools and things that I have used through the years. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I started seeing a therapist in my 20s, part of growing up in an environment where I didn't have a whole lot of control of my circumstances. I swore that when I became an adult, I was going to do everything I could in my power to make sure that I didn't become like my mom, that I didn't struggle financially, that I didn't have to make the really hard choices that I know that she was forced to make. And I got to a point where I had worked myself so much to the bone that my therapist literally looked at me and said, "Sierra, you want so bad to not be like your mom. Are you willing to kill yourself over it?" Because I was starting to have massive anxiety. It was affecting every aspect of my life because I didn't have any boundaries around work-life balance. Things were nuts. Like, I was finding massive success in my business. I was breaking company records. I was making lots of money, and I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And I had attached all of my self-worth and achievement, or all of my self-worth to my achievements. And I thought, okay, on paper, everything looks great. Everything should be good. Why am I not happy? And that's why I walked in and started seeing him. So through many, many years of working with him, we were doing such good work. In fact, he's now become a very strong mentor of mine, a very dear friend. I became a case study for him getting his doctorate in psychology from Stanford University. And he's brilliant, a brilliant man. And I was willing to do the work, and there's videos of our sessions somewhere out there. Hopefully it doesn't ruin my political career. But yeah, it's the stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight is tested. I've used it in my own life. I've seen my clients use it. This is stuff that has been studied. It works. And you don't have to go far to find other books and other teachers and coaches and people that are kind of in this space talking about these things. This stuff really, truly works. what I wanted to do, and why I've like changed this around so many times, is because I want to make this as succinct as possible. It's really easy to make this part, even though it's messy, to make it complicated. And so what I wanted to do is extract out as much as I possibly can and give you guys some real gold nuggets, things that are really easy, and some really simple things that will be the most impactful when it comes to tackling inevitable setbacks that are going to pop up, dealing with anxiety and depression, dealing with relationships that maybe are not exactly what you would want them to be, and that there's a lot of stuff that falls under that, and all of the feelings that might come up from that. So it's not our feelings that cause the problems to relationship that we have to them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of change the relationship. The feelings are okay and they deserve to be there. They are teachers. They are going to get us through a lot. And what I want to do is change the relationship that we have with them so that they don't hold you back. They don't become something that's subconsciously you're holding on to on a backpack, and you don't realize you have it until someone surprises you at a church sermon and you start crying all over the place. So this is, I want to bring this up, and she talks about it in the book too, which is why I keep bringing this up. She uses the phrase "name it to tame it." That seems kind of kitschy to me, but sorry, hold on one sec. So what I want you guys to do is, okay, notes. I hope you guys are taking lots of notes, because I'm going to give you guys tons and tons of like steps and questions and some journaling prompts and a bunch of stuff like that. So if you don't have a pen and paper, this is definitely the time to get it. The one thing that I want to make a distinction about, and I hear this a lot of times when people get caught up in the story of whatever's going on. And again, that can be an internal struggle. That can be something that we're fighting with silently, or it can be something that's obvious to everyone around, where everyone kind of knows what's happening. Is that there's a sense of, a lot of times, a sense of lack of control. And we don't have a lot of control over our circumstances. And life can come up at any time and pull a rug out from underneath us. My husband and I suffered 4 miscarriages. 2 ended up being in the 2nd trimester. And I remember at that time thinking, what did we do wrong? How could we have changed this? And going into this space of like, we live our life well, we make good choices, but how does this happen to us? And I had to get out of that story of, okay, yes, I don't have control over those circumstances, but it doesn't mean that you're powerless. And so I want to give a really big distinction that we don't have control over much in life, but we are always powerful and have power to make change and to do things and process it differently. So for example, some of the things that we do to control our environment a little bit more, or even subconsciously, perfectionism is one. Totally struggle with that myself, and I'm getting through that as well. And I've gotten way better, but it's something that I know a lot of you guys, especially planner girls, like you guys talk a lot about it in the group, and want to applaud all of you who have totally owned that's a tendency that you have and that you're working through. Knowledge is half the battle. Once you figure out that that's something that is kind of running in the background for you, then you can do something about it. But anxiety and depression is another way that shows up for us. Restlessness, not trusting the process and getting impatient, anger, frustration, that kind of stuff, all tends to be a byproduct of when life feels out of control for us. So the first distinction, do I have control over the situation? Yes or no? Most of the time it's no. But I have control over myself. I'm not powerless. I have power to control the way that I handle or I react. Those are important distinctions to make. So that's the one thing that I did want to say about that. Another quote, this is a quote that I really love that my husband and I really like. It's from Zig Ziglar. If you treat everyone as though they are hurting, you'll be treating the majority of people in the proper manner. And I totally love that, because it helps remind me in times when I get frustrated with people's behavior from driving down the road and someone starts screaming at me because I accidentally cut them off and I'm like, whoa, dude, it was an accident. I always think, okay, they're probably having a bad day. I know when I've ever had road rage or I've gotten frustrated with someone, usually not in my best space. And so it helps me have compassion for the other person instead of taking it personal. So, okay, here's the first thing that I want to talk about as far as getting through some of these harder feelings and stuff that comes up. So again, if you guys are experiencing a fear of failure, if there are anxiety, depression, perfectionism, if you guys are going through anything personally in your life that pops up that is creating a sense of unrest in you, this is the gold nuggets here. There's 3 steps to process. Okay, so there's 3 steps to process. Number 1 is to name your feelings. So like she said, name it to tame it. Name your feelings. What is it that you're feeling? Give it a name and give yourself permission that it's okay to be angry, to be sad. If someone you love does something that hurts you and you feel it, but it's okay to say, no, I'm actually really pissed about that, or I'm really hurt, or I feel guarded, or now my defenses are up, or I'm angry about this. Give yourself permission to have whatever those feelings are. You may not have the ability to communicate them to the other person, but this whole thing is about you guys doing your own process work and working through the hard stuff totally 100% on your own. So that's the best part of this. You don't always need to go through this with the person or situation. Again, like we don't have control over other people and how they act or react. We don't have control over certain situations in our lives, but you guys get to go through this process on your own. So number 1, name your feelings. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to this is a kind of a side note, is that negative chatter that goes on in your head, that critical voice. I remember, I think it was maybe in my therapy sessions that I first heard about the critic. And if any of you guys have done any kind of personal work or like frequent readers of self-help books, you're going to find that they talk about this a lot. But I remember being so shocked when whoever it was that introduced this concept to me told me that I'm not crazy, that voice everybody has. And I was like, really? Oh my gosh, I thought it was just me. That voice in your head that says, don't do that, you'll fail. What are they going to think about you if you say this or do that? And all of those yucky things that make us play small or hold us back or prevent us from living the life that we really want to live. That little voice is that critical voice that is there to protect us. That's part of our brain, our mindset that's wired to make sure that we survive on this planet. And the number 1 way that that's activated is through our emotions. And that is something that no matter what we do is always going to be there. So if you know that that's there and it's normal, it's almost like kind of bringing it out of the shadows and kind of playing around with this. So again, figuring out what it is, how it is that you're feeling, and giving it a name. What is the feeling I'm having, and where is that coming from? These are really great ways to kind of manage through that harder stuff. Number 2 is to get it out. So once you acknowledge that this is how I'm feeling, that I'm really, in regards to goals, like this is a great thing. Oftentimes I hear people say, Sierra, I really want to lose this 30 pounds or 50 pounds that I've always wanted to lose. It's been on my goals for 10 years and I never ever do it. And or someone says, I really want to go after this one goal. I really want to start my own business, but I haven't done it. I'm holding back. And the number 1 reason is usually just that negative chatter that's in our head of like, well, you haven't ever done it before. You've set out to do it and you didn't finish it before. What will people think? Or what if you fail? What if all these things, right? All this catastrophic stuff that this little voice in our head like throws out at us. And we can't get rid of it. We don't want to get rid of it. And in fact, after I've done tons and tons and tons of work around this, a really popular reframe, like as you get into more advanced like personal development stuff, is to actually see that critical voice as a protector and giving it a different kind of like a reframe around what that part of you is, that it's not there to beat you up and remind you of all the ways that you're not like so-and-so, or you're not as good as, or as accomplished, or as well refined, or, or as skinny, or as, whatever those things go through in your head. it's there to protect you. It's not there to beat you up. And so you can kind of change the relationship that you have with that if you kind of start looking at it from that way. But those things that are holding you guys back, and everybody's going to be different, whatever those things are that prevent you from losing those 30 pounds or from starting that endeavor or that you want to do, but you never had the guts to maybe do it. This is a really great process way of figuring out what that is that's getting in your way so that you can get it out and move on. So that's step number 2. So step 1 is name the feelings. Step 2 is get it out. 4 things that I highly recommend. And the number 1 thing I will always, always, always recommend, and if you guys are not doing it now or you're not doing it very often, I highly recommend doing this. It is the cheapest, most free form of therapy you can possibly get, and that is journaling. Get a journal, write in it often. I have been journaling since I was probably, I don't know, 8, when they sold those like book club journals that you could buy for like 10 cents with like 10 other books that come, like the Babysitter's Club. And now if any of you guys know what I'm talking about, I'm totally dating myself, but I really believe in the power of journaling. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to write something down. And sometimes I don't even know what it is that I want to write. I just know that I've got stuff going on for me, and I'll start to write, and I'm so amazed by what comes onto the paper. And honestly, the wisdom that just comes out from me. And here's what I know about all of you guys. I have yet to meet a human, a client, or a person that I've worked with who does not inherently have everything that they need to achieve every goal that they ever want, to live the life that they desire, that doesn't possess the ability to do that inside. And I truly believe that in all of my heart. There is not a person that could come to me and tell me a dream, and I won't say, I totally believe if you really want this, that you can do that. And this is a really great way for you to kind of to hone in on what those things are that might be holding you back. So journaling, I have some journaling questions that I believe are some of the most powerful ones. So if you don't know what to write about when you're journaling, number 1 is, how am I feeling? And then answer that question. How am I feeling? If you're having a hard time processing, you know that there's stuff going on, but you're not quite sure. How am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What is the story I'm telling myself? And I'm going to go ahead and post these on a separate post when we're done here so that you guys can have that. What do I need? You guys, this is the hardest question for people to answer. It is amazing. I want to give you guys, like, this is a fun little experiment. Go to your significant other next time you guys are having, I don't know, a conversation about life, and ask them specifically, well, what do you think you need? And watch how hard it is for them to actually answer that, like, succinctly. Most people do a runaround of like, well, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And all these things come up, and it's so hard for people to actually say, well, I need X, Y, or Z. And, oops, sorry, I'm seeing all your guys' comments. Okay, sorry, I just got sidetracked. I'll come back to your guys' comments in a second. I know Melissa's responding. So yeah, so what's the story I'm telling myself? What do I need? And then what can I do about it? So those questions alone, if you sit down and you process through any of those things that are getting in your way, and I'm sharing this stuff, you guys, because I've had so many people send me messages and say, Sierra, I'm getting stuck on writing the goals, because what if it's not achievable? What if it's not realistic? What if it's something that I've always written down but I haven't gotten done? What if it's not big enough? And they're taking it through this filter of judgment, or somehow failure is going to come into play. And all of that, there's room for all of that. But I also want to get to the heart of whatever it is that wherever that may be coming from. And journaling is a really amazing way. If you're not seeing a therapist, or you don't have someone that you can talk to that gives you really sage advice, this is a really great way for you guys to do that and figure that out. Talking to a trusted person is another way to get it out. Therapy is another one. And then support groups, of course, are always a really great option as well. And then number 3 for the process step is to let it go. So once you've named it, once you've kind of figured out what it is and kind of worked through and been able to determine exactly where it's coming from, is then to let it go. And one of my favorite ways of doing this is well, there's two ways that I highly recommend, and one of them is visualization and another one is meditation. And visualization, this is one of those tips that I've told you about that has been handed down to me from people who've studied mindset and overcoming this kind of stuff. And when, like, whether it's a really yucky feeling or you have an interaction with someone and it leaves you feeling yuck, or a person that I don't know, you get unsolicited advice or an opinion that hurts, any of this stuff that can possibly come up. This is a really great tool. And I'm going to give you guys a little story here, because when I first heard about this, it was really funny to me. This is a great example of how powerful our brains are, of bringing us back to what we know, and how hard it is to tame that monkey mind that like just wants to go off into other places. So this is a tip for you guys, and how one visualization. I have lots and lots of these, but I'm going to give you guys just one tonight. A visualization of letting go. So I want you guys to like think about a feeling that you have that has been maybe bothering you or something you've been struggling with. And I want you to close your eyes. And this is the exercise that I went through. So I close my eyes and I want you to picture yourself standing on the edge of a beach. And I want you to picture a boat right in front of you. And in this boat, there's nothing there. It's empty. And I want you to think about whatever that thing is that might be stressing you out or making you feel, not happy or whatever that is. And I want you to make it tangible so that you can put it in your hands and then stick it in the boat. And then I want you to push that boat away. And I want you guys to visualize the boat just going off into the horizon. And it's taking all of these things that you're feeling and it's going to take it away. And I don't know if the same thing happened to you guys as it did me, but I remember when he was walking me through this and I was like, wait, my boat just came back because the waves brought it back. The boat just came, I just shoved it away and the boat came back. What the hell is going on? Like, it's back here. What does this mean? And I remember thinking, well, that didn't work. Like, that's crap. Like, this isn't working for me. So then I was like, wait, okay, I'm smarter than this. I'm bigger. Like, I'm stronger than this. I could figure this out. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to put a motor on my boat. I'm going to put a motor on my boat. I'm going to turn that motor on and I'm going to send it off into the horizon. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching the boat go. And all of a sudden it starts doing like this kamikaze, like a boat with a motor unattended would do. And it starts kamikazing out and it ends up coming back to the shore again. And I thought, well, what the hell is, this isn't working. This isn't working. And I thought, okay, I'm stronger than this. I can figure this out. There's a reason why he taught me this. I can figure this out. So finally I'm like, okay, how can I make sure this boat leaves the shore and does not come back? Take my crap and go and leave it behind. I don't want it anymore. I'm putting my crap in the boat. And so I didn't want a human there because this is like my space and I didn't want to have like anybody's like energy and it's this visualization. It's supposed to be as clean and pure as possible. So then I put this like mute faceless human in the front and they had oars and I put the stuff in the boat and this humanoid robotic thing started rowing and he kept rowing and he went over the waves and it didn't come back and he kept going and going and going. And finally he went off into the horizon and he never came back. And you guys, I'm telling you right now, the very first time I did this exercise, it took almost a half an hour for me to get over my brain wanting to take this someplace else. And this is like the power of our minds. It's so crazy how things like this happen when we try to retrain our minds to think about and view things differently. And I want to share this as an example with you guys because it will happen to you. The more change that you start to try and implement and put into your life, these mental barriers are going to come up, and that's just part of it. And it's totally okay. And figure out ways, just like the process of setting your goals and kind of playing around with it until you find your flow and what works for you. I want you guys to also think about when it comes to any of these tips or tools, whether it's journaling or talking or giving yourself permission to name stuff, however that works for you, play around with it until you make it work. I spent a half an hour. I was so committed to making that visualization work because I trusted the person who told it to me. I knew it worked. I knew people use this as a really strong mind mastery tip. And I was like, I refuse to let that boat come back onto my shore. And I finally figured it out. So now I use this all the time, you guys, all the time. Anytime a negative feeling comes up, I will, like, if before bed, I'll lay in bed and I'll picture all the things that are like holding me back that day, and all the things that I totally just want to let go of, and I'll put them in the boat. My little humanoid takes off with it and paddles them off into the horizon, and I immediately feel a sense of relief. And this stuff totally works. The one thing that I wanted to tell you guys, if you want, because I have a million books here that I wanted to share with you guys for creative visualization. I know there's one up there. Oh, here we are. Okay. There's a million books. This is a really great tool for taking this into kind of the next level. This is an amazing practice if you guys are trying to achieve big goals, you want to manifest something in your life. This visualization is such a powerful tool to reprogram our subconscious mind to steer us in the direction of where we want to go, or letting go of things we want to let go of that don't serve us anymore. And this is an amazing, amazing tool. I cannot tell you how many times I have used this. I do visualizations before I do speaking events. I visualize myself standing on stage and having the experience that I want to have with people. I have visualized jobs that I've wanted to have. I have visualized certain things for my children that I hope like come to fruition. And you guys, it is crazy how effective it is. It is amazing how effective it is. So it's creative visualization. It's use the power of your imagination to create a life, or create what you want in the life. Oh my gosh, what you want in your life. Sorry, it's by Shakti Gawain. This is a really great tool. So visualization, and then another one is meditation. And I know there's been a lot of conversation inside the group about meditation. One of the ones that I really recommend, that I personally use, is the Calm app. This is a great tool for managing depression, anxiety, sleeplessness, that kind of stuff. All of those things play into whether or not we're able to show up and be our best every single day. Calm is not cheap, but it is 100% worth it, and they keep getting better and better. But they do guided meditations. And why I love guided meditations, especially for a beginner, is because it is so hard. Just in that same example that I just gave you guys of the boat, our brains naturally are just like going, and it's so hard to rope that in so that we can focus on what it is that we're, trying to let go of. And visualizations make it so your brain stops like that rabbit race, and it helps kind of focus it a little bit. And so they help you figure out how to breathe. So they focus on your breath, on being mindful of your body. And then they take you through visualizations on different things. Calm has stuff for forgiveness, anxiety, sleep. They have stories for kids. My kids use it all the time for like nighttime stories and teaching them how to meditate. And it's a really powerful way to retrain our minds for all of these things that come up in our lives. And if you just spend 5 minutes a day, it's such a powerful tool to retrain and reprogram all the things that get in our way, because they're going to come up. And if you've got a support system, and all of these things are either really low cost or no cost ways that you can do on your own, that you have that power to do. You may not have control of the circumstances, but you have the power of how you respond. And all of these are super duper powerful. Another thing about the meditation is, if you don't want to pay for the Calm app, YouTube has an amazing guided meditations on there as well. What I recommend, and those are free, some of them are really good and some are not so good. So when you find one you like, what I have done is I've taken the URL and added it as a home screen bookmark. And so on my phone, and then it says meditation, I've created a folder with all of my favorite meditations. I add it to my home screen. And then I name it whatever I want, whether it's negative people, creativity, limitless, 15-minute anti-anxiety, whatever. It's on here. I know exactly where to go. I just click that and it takes me straight to it. So I use both Calm and I use that. I use that visualization all the time. those alone will change some of the hardest times that you guys could possibly go through. So that's that. I'm conscious of time. Are there questions coming through?
Just chatting back and forth.
Okay, she's just chatting. Here's the other thing. So I'm saving the biggest nuggets for the very end, so don't go anywhere. And I promise I'll wrap this up in an hour. And then if whoever wants to stay on, if there's questions, and I'll go through the comments a little bit more. I do want to get this stuff out though. Here's the 2 things, you guys, that I'm going to tell you right now will change your life no matter what you go through. And the 2 things that I'm going to tell you that completely have transformed my life and people's lives that I know that have gone through some of the hardest things is to have curiosity and gratitude. Those 2 things will get you through anything in life where it doesn't get the best of you. Curiosity, what do I mean by that? What does that mean? So like, I want you guys to adopt a curious mindset around something hard comes your way. I want you to ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What do I have to learn? And how can I grow from this? If you guys approach any kind of hard time or setback and you filter it through that line of thinking before you get caught up in like the emotional aspect of it, what is it teaching me? What do I have to learn? How can I grow from this? It immediately turns any kind of negative into a positive. It's gifting you something. There's some golden nugget in that you can gather and garner from it. And then gratitude. What is the gift or lesson that I got from it? How did this make me better? And what am I grateful for? And it's in those 2 mindsets of anything that comes your way, it will completely transform the relationship you have. So when things happen, like for example, when I launched Moxie Life, some of you guys got caught up in our whole website debacle on our launch day. You guys, I was freaking out. That's the last thing anyone wants to have happen when you launch is for your website to start acting absolutely crazy. And I am not a tech person, and my tech person was on the phone with our tech support, and it was crazy. And all I was getting was just a barrage of emails of like, what's going on? I'm trying to place my order and all this crazy stuff's happening. And I'm just like, oh my God. Now I could have gone into dinosaur brain and thought, oh my God, failure. This is awful. How does this look? And oh, blah, 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 and get totally caught up in it. And I had to take a deep breath and say, okay, wait a second. Setbacks are part of the process. Failures will happen. Mistakes are going to happen. What do I have to learn from this? How is this teaching me to become better? How can I prep myself, my team, my company so this doesn't happen again? And then what am I grateful for? Because there are some really great gold nuggets. I met a significant amount of you guys through private DMs and have had a really awesome relationship with you guys because of the fact that you guys reached out to me and said, I'm having a hard time placing my order, what's going on? And then we got into conversations. You guys, I have dozens of relationships with you now that I would have never had if that never happened. And it's weird to kind of think of that like, oh, Sierra's, had all this crazy stuff happen, but I chose to focus on the positive aspect of it. Now, it could have been something that made me feel small and like, oh my gosh, we hit the ground with a big bang and like, all this negative stuff. Instead, there was a lot of good that actually came out of it. I hope it never happens again. And I think that we will have set things up so where it doesn't, but shit happens and you move on. And so anyway, I'm just sharing that with you guys to hopefully give you a little bit of an example around that. Another quote that I really love, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. And that's from Jim Rohn. And I love that quote. I always think that, like, don't wish for it to get easier. Life's hard. Life is going to throw stuff your way and things are going to get messy and there's going to be curveballs all the time and you're going to have setbacks and there will be times when you are setting out to do goals or create change and there's going to be something weird or crazy that happens or maybe doesn't happen. And I want you guys to know that it's okay, that you are growing, that you're learning through this process, and that's where the gold is. That's where the opportunity for joy and fulfillment and happiness and a sense of confidence and pride in what you're doing and the actions that you're taking is going to come from. It's not always from that finish line. So the more that you can become a friend with the process and embrace curiosity and gratitude and look for the things that are gifts in the struggle, embrace the struggle, and figure out what you can get from that. There's a lesson in all of it for all of us. And what I love the most is you guys, I knew a group setting because I've been a part of the group dynamic in so many different ways, but I have seen you guys show up and be willing to be vulnerable, to name the feelings that you guys are having. Some of you are struggling with some pretty big anxiety and depression and mental health stuff. Some are dealing with chronic health issues. Some of you guys are going through really strained key relationships. Some people have lost parents in the last month. There are people that are going through divorces and sick children, real sick children with cancer and that kind of stuff. And life is going to happen and things are going to be crazy, but it doesn't mean that we don't stop working towards a life that we want and investing in ourselves and creating an experience on this planet that we enjoy and that we love. And so in that, I just want to encourage you guys to continue doing what you're doing. You guys are doing amazing work. Keep sharing your process with all of us because it invites other people to embrace and name their own stuff too. And I just want to say thank you for showing up the way that you guys have. I know this process works, but watching you guys live it out loud and doing it through your social media posts and sharing in the group is just beyond anything I could have ever envisioned for what Moxie Life would do for people. And so anyway, I know that this is really high level stuff. I know it's a lot heavier than, it's not, personal growth isn't all like rainbows and sparkles. And I want to talk about the heavy stuff because that's the stuff that holds us back from getting the things that we really want. So I hope I've given you guys some gold nuggets. I'll do a little recap of this in a post so that you guys can have this bullet pointed out, and I'll put those journaling questions in there. And then the last thing, and I've got 8 or 9 minutes. Are there any questions that have come here? Okay, all right, perfect, that's good. Sorry, I'm reading you guys' comments. All right, yeah, there's a lot, so I'm gonna have to come back through and read these. I told you guys I was gonna tell you my #1 tool for getting through difficult times and accomplishing big goals. And it is what I call the power of one. And this is something that you guys can use with your habit tracker, but this is when someone has come to me and said, and it could be from either end of the spectrum, either Sierra, I'm really struggling, I've used this in my own life, when I've been going through depression or anxiety and it just feels crippling and I'm I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And this can also feel this way with big goals and big dreams and those stretch goals that you guys might have. It's hard to see what that finish line looks like sometimes, is to do one thing every single day working towards getting yourself there, wherever there is. For example, if you are struggling with anxiety or depression and it's something that feels crippling to you, do one single thing every day that makes you feel good, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It can be something as simple as doing daily gratitude. It can be something like taking a bath or talking to a friend, or reading a book that feels like you're talking to a friend and that's full of advice around some of the stuff you might be going through. So do just one thing every day, and you don't even have to figure out what that is in advance. Just ask yourself, what's the one thing I'm going to do today that's going to make me feel better or get me through this hard time? Also, similarly with big goals, I want you to say, what is one thing I'm going to do that's going to get me to my big goal? And let me give you an example. We would not be sitting here today if I did not take this approach with Moxie Life. So it would actually, what's the date today? What is the date? 15? Ooh, this is exciting. Okay, so hold on, let me take a sip of, I might have frog throat. I promise I'll wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. On January 19th, 2019, I took the very first step to materialize Moxie Life. And at the time, I knew I've always wanted to do this. This is something I wanted to do 10 years ago. I always wanted to put my system into a book of some sort that was, because my clients were using spreadsheets, which was felt so archaic. And clumsy and clunky and whatever. It just didn't work. There was no like, I always wanted to put it into a planner. And if you guys have been following me on Planner Friend for like back in 2015, I would like integrate it into my Erin Condren boxes at the top, and it worked, but it wasn't the same. And so anyway, something I always wanted to do. And on January 19th, after talking with my husband, and I had this gut feeling, I was like, I need to do this. I have to do this. And I thought I'd done a rough draft of how I wanted the layout to look. And I'm like, there's nothing that's quite like this. It takes you through the entire year and keeps you anchored to your goals every single week in a way that's flexible, that allows you to adapt and change to whatever life is going to throw your way. There wasn't anything that allowed you to constantly make those changes. And I miss that flexibility in some of the systems that were out there. And for me, with my particular background, that was something that was really important to me. Flexibility and freedom to be able to change things and adapt to life as it comes was something that I just wanted to do. So anyway, on January 19th, I had posted on Facebook to my friends, does anyone know of a graphic designer that specializes in publication design? Because I needed someone who could understood the whole like printing world and that kind of thing. And I got a recommendation for a designer, and he ended up being the person who designed the entire book. We now have a new designer because he's busy doing other stuff. But I remember telling my husband, he's like, well, what do you want to do with this? And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe we'll just create like a couple like spreads, and we can take it to, Staples or Kinko's, and we'll get it printed, and then we could like, put in those like cheap like spiral things, and you and I can just have, it might cost a couple $100s to like have a designer do that, but then we'll have our own little planner, and it'll be something that we can use, and yay, it'll be cool. And then I started talking to the designer, and I started thinking, no, I really want this to become a reality. And were you here at that time? Yes. Okay. So I just said, I have no idea what I'm doing. She's laughed. She's all, yes. I have no clue. You guys, I never created a product. I don't know the first thing about that. I don't have a background in manufacturing or, creating any physical product. I could do a spreadsheet, but that's it. And I'm not a designer. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I kept telling my husband, I'm just going to do one thing every day. And I don't know what that one thing's going to be, but every day I woke up, and for the first month, I would just do one thing. I'm like, I'm going to figure out what the name is today. And I figured out what the name is. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy the domain. And I bought the domain. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to research book manufacturers today in the US. And that went nowhere because nobody can manufacture this planner in the US. So then I was like, okay, well then that's out. Okay, well then tomorrow's going to be, I'm going to set up my email newsletter. I didn't have a website yet, or I'm going to find a website designer, whatever. I would do one thing every single day. Here's what I will tell you about this, whether you are trying to overcome hard feelings and hard times, or you're working towards a big goal. When you start taking action, just like you guys are doing right now with your monthly goals and your weekly actions, you will get momentum. That momentum will build on itself. And all of a sudden you start thinking with the end result in mind. You're no longer questioning, and you're overcoming that talk in the back of your head that's saying, oh, don't do it. What will they think? Or you don't know what you're doing. You've never published a book before. You've never manufactured a planner. Or the whole world, there's a million planner companies out there. I didn't let that get in my way because I just said, you know what? I don't know where this is going to go. I hope that at the end of this year, I can have a 2020 planner. If I don't, I'll figure it out somewhere along the way, but I'm just going to do one thing every day. That is how Moxie Life got here. And you want to know something, you guys? I had so many setbacks. I had so many wrong turns and problems along the way. One of these days, I'll tell you guys all about it. Oh my God, there's a reason why we launched in December. We almost didn't have a book. My designer totally just went MIA and ran off to Austria. This isn't a joke. Austria? Took off. He left. You guys, my designer left the country at the end of June, and that was when our files were due, and our files were not done, and I was freaking out. But the silver lining was I got my designer now, who's also an overseas production specialist, and girlfriend has like she's worked miracles, and she is now part of our team permanently. I love her. She may even be on this call. Is she on this call? Do you know? I don't know. And those setbacks and that crap is going to happen, and you just keep going. You do one thing every day. Just keep working towards it. Don't let the setbacks, don't let the hard times, don't let those negative thoughts, don't let any of that crap get in your way. You just go, go, go. You keep doing it, and you don't commit yourself to the story that says no. You stay glued to what it is that you really, really want. If you want to be happy and finally overcome those hard times and the anxiety or depression or the struggles that you're having in your life, or you want to go and take on those big dreams and those big goals, do one thing every single day, you guys. I swear it will pay off dividends. So with that, I'm literally closing this at 60 minutes and 13 seconds. I'm going to stay on if you guys want to ask any questions. Okay, I'm totally reading your guys' comments. I'm going to, thank you guys. I see lots of really sweet comments. If you guys have any questions, there's a delay. There's a 45-second delay. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and stay on. If you guys have any questions, if you have anything specific you want to ask me, I'll stay on. If not, that's totally cool too. I'll go through when I'm done here and I'll read the comments and respond. I love you guys. Thank you for letting me talk your ear off about this. I hope it wasn't too high level for you. Again, I'm not even joking when I say I have re-scripted this whole talk like 20 times because I didn't know exactly what direction I wanted to go with it. I could talk about this for days. And I know time is precious for everybody. I thank you for spending your time with me tonight. And if you're watching this in the replay, I love you guys. Go out there, keep doing the awesome stuff you guys are doing. And I'm here if you guys have any needs or questions. Always send me a private message. You guys are amazing. I love connecting with you. And thank you. All right.
Did you say you had a list of books?
Oh, I have so many books. Do you guys want to see books? Okay. All right, I'm gonna start with my ultimate favorite, the books that had the most significant. You guys, I have hundreds of books. I used to read like a book a week. Now my stretch goal is 12 for this year. I don't know if you guys caught that, I think it was the first call. But I'm gonna start with the most impactful books that changed my life, and all of them are all centered around mindset. I would say that they all kind of really started to shift the way that I was like reacting to the things that were happening in my world. The very first one I read when I was 16, and I've referred this to so many people, The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. You guys, the first sentence in this book, and it says it all, and this is, I like to keep it real, and I don't like people to send, like, I don't like sunshine at my skirt. This is, number one, life is difficult. I don't know if you can see, life is difficult. And then he goes into saying, and so what, you move past it. So that's in a nutshell. But he does an amazing job of talking about the psychology of values, love, spiritual growth, family dynamics, all kinds of stuff. And he's psychologically, or he's a psychologist. I think he's a psychologist. So anyway, really, really awesome stuff. Changed my life. First and foremost book that I recommend to everybody. The next one is a little bit more metaphysical, kind of spiritual. Still another one, a really amazing book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Love this. All of these are available on Audible. I'm sure you guys, those of you who are getting them from the library, these are all like best-selling books, so you probably won't have a hard time getting them. Love that one. I've read, both of these I've read probably 5 or 6 times. This one, I don't like the title, but it's an amazing book on mindset for success and really just showing up in life and making stuff happen. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Another gold one. This one's a more recent one, Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. By the way, if you guys haven't watched it yet, Brene Brown has a Netflix special that's about an hour long on, I just watched it again for like the 5th time. It's so good, you guys. She talks about how she, in her own process, how hard it is to be the one in the arena battling and doing the hard fight, and that there's a lot of cheap seats with people's opinions out there. But if you're in the arena doing the hard work, keep doing your thing. Like, don't worry about what people in the cheap seats think. And I love it because she's all about courage and vulnerability, and really, truly, you can't get anywhere in life significantly without embracing those. And so she's amazing talk on that. And that book is actually about vulnerability too, which is really great. Best relationship book I've ever read, Journey of the Heart, The Path to Conscious Love. I love this because he talks a lot about how when with your partner, the connection that you have with your partner is an opportunity for you to, it's an opportunity for you to grow, and learning how to sit side by side in the problem instead of like reacting to each other. It's a really awesome book to read with your partner. It's very process driven. So I love this. This has completely changed the level of intimacy that my husband and I have with each other, and it's pretty significant. So I highly recommend that. And then this one is a chewy one. If you guys like more, I consider this more of a meditative read, and this is what I consider to be my Bible, is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Very, very awesome, wise, but it's chewy. Like, it's one of those books where you read a paragraph and you have to like stop and kind of think about it and apply it to your life, but it's so wise, and there's so much permission and letting go and surrender. It helps remove the fight in anything in life. And what's cool about it is that they have I'm school, my mom like wrote this and gave this to me back in 96. Okay, but they have contents on love, on marriage, on children, on giving, on eating and drinking, on work, on joy and sorrow. Anyway, if there's anything you're going on in your life and you kind of want something to kind of help reset your mind, and again, this is more of a meditative read, you can go to whatever it is you might be struggling with, and it's only like 2 or 3 pages, and that's a really great read. And then another one, this is more of a fun one, but I love her so much, Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. This is more of not a novel. She just talks about the process of taking life one step at a time. So going back to that whole power of one thing, this is a really great book, and it feels like you're talking to your best friend. I absolutely love that. So those are the books that I recommend. If you guys are struggling with worrying about what people think, Melissa's laughing. Love this one, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. If you haven't read this, really awesome. It's a great way to just really just let it go. However, if you are squeamish at all with the F word, do not get it. There's profanity laced throughout, which I loved because I would laugh. And have you read that one? No, you haven't? Okay. It's really good. That's a really great one. If you guys want to learn more about the critical voice, the negative voice, this is a great one. This is something that my coaching school gave us, Taming Your Gremlin. They call it gremlin. This is a critic, but it talks a lot about that critical voice, where it comes from and why we have it, and ways to kind of circumvent that voice that's just kind of always running on autopilot in the back of our minds. Another really great one, this is also from Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. If you're struggling with self-worth or self-doubt, this is a really great one on embracing. And this is also a great one too. And I talk about this in the tips in the planner, embracing and owning your story. This is a really great one because all of you guys have a story. You guys have been through stuff that you need to share with the world, because there are people that you will inspire to make change. And so the more that you own your story, the more that you're vulnerable, the more that you show up and own that kind of stuff, you have the chance to impact more people's lives. I really recommend this one if you're going to go that route. So many books. Okay, this is the last. I'm like, which ones do I want to show? There's even more. I have so many books. You guys love books. Okay. The Dance With series. This is The Dance of Intimacy, The Dance of Fear, and The Dance of Connection. It's from Harriet Lerner. She's got her PhD. Amazing books. And I would say this is, okay, so I'll go through each one of these. This says How to Talk to Someone When You're Mad, Hurt, Scared, Frustrated, Insulted, Betrayed, or Desperate. Highly recommend this one. If you find yourself having a hard time communicating your feelings to people, especially key relationships, whether it's a parent, a spouse, significant other, child, friend, boss, coworker, whatever. This is a really great book on how to find your voice, how to create some boundaries that are going to work for you. Speaking of boundaries, is there pulling your own strings? I had it here. Where is it? It might be on the counter. Another one that's really great for that, I have it somewhere. Pulling Your Own Strings by Wayne Dyer. That's a really great book for if you are finding, he uses the word victimized, and I hate that word because I don't subscribe to that mindset, but more, thank you, this one. Pulling Your Own Strings by Wayne Dyer. This is a really great book on drawing healthy boundaries. If you have family or love relationships where you don't really feel there's maybe manipulation or over involvement, or there's things that you're really struggling with around that, which is a common problem. I hear often from people, pulling your own strings is a really great tool for you guys to get through that kind of stuff. Okay, so the dance of fear. If you are dealing with anxiety, fear, shame, how to overcome them, this is a great one, Dance of Fear. And then the Dance of Intimacy. This is a really awesome book. This is, again, she says, a women's guide to courageous acts of change in key relationships. Again, your closest relationships are going to be the hardest thing. I was going to talk about this, and I decided not to. I'm going to touch on it really, really fast. You guys, the more change and more positive growth that you guys make in your life, you're going to find that your environment will start to resist it. And the number one way that that starts to happen is in your key relationships. And she talks about this a lot in this book, The Dance of Intimacy, that we all, in all of our relationships, we all have a dance that we all do with each other. And just like in dancing class, like you've got your roles, you know, when he steps forward, you step back, and you've got your dance. If at any point you decide, well, instead of standing back, I'm going to step to the side, what is the first initial reaction that person does? They're going to be like, wait, what are you doing? You're supposed to be going back. Why are you going sideways? The same happens in life. When you start making change, you start doing things differently, you're going to start finding that the people that you love and love you the most will maybe have unsolicited advice, will have kind of negative or critical like feedback that you may or may not have asked for. And it's because people don't understand what's happening. Change makes people uncomfortable. We all, like, our brains are hardwired to want to go to comfort. And so a lot of people really struggle with the fact that when the more brave, the more courageous that you get, the more you're going to get feedback. The moment I started telling people I was doing Moxie Life, they're like, ooh, are you sure? There's a lot of planner companies out there. And here's what you guys need to know is that is about them. It's not about you. You do you. You keep making your change. You keep staying brave and courageous and making those steps. And the people that are meant to be there will be there, and they will learn to love you with your new changes eventually. And just know that that struggle, that initial resistance is totally normal. Okay, so don't get freaked out that like marriages are ending or anything like that. It's going to be uncomfortable, or that like sometimes parents or kids, you know, can get kind of messy sometimes. Dance of Intimacy is, if you're struggling with that and you start making big changes, awesome book to read. So the last one is a fun one. And I was, I don't know, I think I learned about her when I was like in my early teens. Sark. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she has gotten me through some really tough times. I used to take this book into the bath and read it. Everything is handwritten and hand-drawn. She is queen of permission, queen of owning the messy bits, queen of it's totally okay, you're okay, we're all just doing our best. And it's like talking to a best friend. And she talks about everything from healing, fears, outrageous adventures, sexuality, creative expression, love and romance, fat, money and power, building a succulent community. And anyway, it's just fun. It's so much fun. All of her books are amazing. Love her. And then Eat Mangoes Naked. They're just fun. They're just really fun books, but in it is a lot of wisdom and a lot of permission to just be you. So, okay, with that, I'm done. We're good? We're good? Okay. I love you guys. Last call is going to be on Monday, the 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I will see you guys in the group tomorrow. I'm going to post a poll and I'll do a recap of all the stuff that we've talked about. Love you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.